So thank you so much for inviting ABC to be here. We've done presentations to various groups before, and we are delighted to talk about apprenticeship and using that as an opportunity to increase workforce development, to help people have careers and meaningful kind of work, and to support their families and their communities and so forth. So the first slide that you see is actually part of this is our new building. This is our annex. So our total facility is 26,000 square feet. And that includes the new annex that we built here. We're right here in the center of Albuquerque. We're on Broadway between Manal and Candelaria. And like I said, we have been here for decades. So a little bit about our organization, we're actually a trade association. So there are 68 chapters nationwide. We're founded on the merit shop philosophy, which means that we believe that work should go to the lowest and most qualified bidder. And we try to provide work safely, ethically, and profitably to better our communities here. So almost all of our branches are involved in training of one sort or another. Here in New Mexico, we are actually a multi-trade apprenticeship program. So in this way, we're able to offer training in a variety of different occupations here within the construction industry. So many people are wondering, because apprenticeship has become a buzzword. It was more introduced around the time of President Barack Obama was doing it when he had his tenure as president, and he really brought up to the fore about the importance of apprenticeship and utilizing that and growing it. If you go to the Department of Labor onto their website, you'll see that there are at least 1,000 apprenticeable occupations. So it isn't just the construction industry. And here in New Mexico especially, I just wanted to mention that CNM, their CNM Ingenuity with their IT programs are also part of the state registered apprenticeship programs. And we also have a state registered apprenticeship program in nursing. So apprenticeship really covers a broad spectrum of occupations in there. So we want to, introduce apprenticeship by saying, what is it? So it's really an arrangement where a person is learning something, either a job, a trade, or an art under the abilities of somebody else. If you think about the Sistine Chapel, Michelangelo didn't do that by himself. He obviously had to have help. And those individuals who are working with him are actually apprentices. Many of us, we think about during the, say, the Middle Ages, as they were coming out of that into the Renaissance time period, you had the masonry guilds and various different guilds that were specific to different trades. And that's what they were. The people were learning a trade under a master trainer, so to speak. And in this way, they were able to learn an occupation. So apprenticeship has really been around for the idea of it for centuries. And why? Because it works. That's the best way for somebody to learn, is to learn under the tutorship of somebody else who is understanding what's going on here. So as Benjamin Franklin had said, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So as adult educators, you see how people learn in different styles. They have the auditory. Some people learn better by listening. Some people learn better by reading. That's me. I'm a reader. And other people learn by having the tactile, which is doing it as they go along. And as we know, that's more particular in construction. So in New Mexico, we present apprenticeship as a scholarship, because really the apprentice does not pay for their related instruction. So unlike going to college, where you may have to take out a loan or get some other kind of financial aid, here the employer is paying for the tuition and the textbooks. So in this case, they're really sponsored. You look at this and you're getting the equivalent of about a $15,000 scholarship when all is said and done. And to do that, so the apprentice is working full-time for their employer in the trade that they want to get that experience in. And then they're attending classes at night. So at night, they're learning the theory behind what they're doing in the trade. All of the trades involve science, math, and reading comprehension. So in this case, you may wonder, why do people have to pour concrete at like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning? There's a scientific reason behind it as to how the concrete cures, as to why you have to do it at that time and allow the process to happen as it goes through there. So in every single trade, there's science involved. So, and we have to meet all that different criteria through the state of New Mexico in order for us to be approved as an apprenticeship program within the state. So I just want to kind of clear that up a little bit. So sometimes there are companies that have their own training programs, and they may refer to their individuals as apprentices, but it's not a registered apprenticeship. If you have a registered apprenticeship, it is going through certain steps through the state of New Mexico. There's a process that has to be followed. Katrina V. Hill, who is the apprenticeship director for the state, has a staff, and there is a process by where a program comes through to get approved, and they have to follow certain criteria on it. And this is important because this gives us accountability in order to do what we do here. So it's not just that somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm going to teach a class on concrete or on framing or any of these things, but it's a person who is qualified to do so. And we have all of these qualifications and expectations that we have to meet. So all of our instructors are journeymen in the trade. And many of them are still working in the trade, and then they come and then they teach at night. And they're certified. They have to go through a teaching program in order to become certified to teach, which is separate from being an expert in their field. Because as we all know, when you're trying to teach individuals, especially adult learners, you have to make sure that you have certain skills on hand in order to make things clear, in order to be able to give the information in the best possible way. So apprentices earn credentials as they go through. And of course, the ultimate goal is if you have a trade that requires licensing. So here in the state of New Mexico, some trades are electrical, requires a journeyman license. So does plumbing and mechanical. That would be like sheet metal and HVAC. Now, in the state of New Mexico, carpentry does not require any kind of licensing in there. If you go to other states, there's different kinds of requirements. So we're cognizant of that. By doing this, they actually move ahead and go through the program. They're developing not only their skills, but they're increasing their pay rate as they go through, because as they complete the program, they go from being, somebody who is just starting, and they go all the way to almost a journeyman level, and their pay reflects that as well. So there's a wage progression that goes with it. And if you're ever wondering how the construction industry pays, it is very well. Let me tell you. How do I know that? Because the apprentices drive way nicer vehicles than I do. I can tell you. So construction pays very well. What are the benefits of apprenticeship? So as we mentioned, apprenticeship is earn while you learn. There are no student loans or debt. So when an apprentice comes through the program through 4 years, they have nothing to pay back. They don't have a loan to pay back. They don't owe their employer any money. There's nothing like that at all. And so, just as a comparison that we do, when you think about individuals going through 4 years of college, you can come out with $60,000 worth of a loan, and then you're still starting at an entry level position before you can even, start achieving what you want to in your career. So apprentices work in their profession from day one, and they're getting that experience. Many of them, by the time they graduate from this program, they're already foreman on their job. And by foreman, I'm just using that term, but they're a leader, a crew leader, and they're already setting up work and they're supervising individuals. The occupations and trades are numerous. And the great thing about having a skill in the construction industry, so, if you're going to be in plumbing, electrical, HVAC, telecommunications, any of those things, is you've got a skill that you can take with you anywhere, not just anywhere in the country, but really anywhere in the world, because there's construction and projects going on everywhere. So that is the great thing. But what we really want people to do is to be able to stay here, have their families in the communities, and help build New Mexico, because we know we certainly need it. So the statistics that we think about here, roughly $15,000, and the employer covers those costs. The construction industry has been contributing to the growth of the United States. And as you know, if you don't have a road to drive on, if you don't have, the infrastructure underneath, not just the roads, but the sewer systems, the electrical systems, and now the smart stuff, all the telecommunications. If you don't have a building to do your work in, we're not going around in caves doing our computer work. We have to have a building, and it's needed all throughout. During COVID, construction was not strongly affected by what was going on, so that was a good thing too. So you pretty much have a stable and a secure career path. And speaking of career paths, this is how we show it. So if we look here, high school graduate, it says GED certificate. Let me elaborate and say also HiSET, any kind of high school equivalency. And this is, I know now they don't like to use a career ladder. They prefer to call it a lattice, because there are a lot of lateral things that go on throughout a company. So, but you are traveling through there in your career path. Many apprentices want to come on and become their own owner of a company. And we've had graduates who have done just that in that. So it's just limitless, really, what can be done here and the steps that can be taken to do it. I've been with ABC now 17 years, and I have individuals come back who graduated from our program, and they are so thankful for the career that they've been able to have in doing this. And it's great to see that. It's wonderful to see that. I have to tell you, some of them call me mama. I just, they're my children. So the trades that we offer here, we offer 7 different trades. We have the carpentry program, and this gives an explanation of what the carpenters do. And again, if as an educator, these are the things that we want them to be able to focus on when we're explaining it. Again, you see the attention to detail, algebra, and geometry. and the ability to do problem solving. Electrical. That is probably one of our most popular program. We have over 100 apprentices just within the electrical program alone. But you notice some of the things here that they're doing. Again, troubleshooting and analytical ingenuity. The ability to distinguish between colors. If you are colorblind, you're going to have a problem there because, you know, you put those wires together and you get the wrong thing, and then, yep, we don't want that. So HVAC, again, very important in the systems of a building here. And it talks about mechanical aptitude, time management, and creative thinking. So masonry, again, the things there that what they're doing is creativity, motivation, unafraid of heights, that and ironworking. You want to make sure sometimes people have an idea, they want to do something, and then they realize, wow, you know, I can't get up there and take care of this. Plumbers, the slogan for plumbing is that they protect the health and safety of the nation. And that really is true because they have to take care of the water systems throughout here. And, you know, when we have so many things that are going on with E. coli, or if down in the South Valley, if the well systems aren't working, it's imperative as to, you know, what their role is. We have sheet metal as well. So they fabricate and create the ductwork. The biggest math thing there is geometry. So it's being able to visualize something as well, to go from simply a two-dimensional into a three-dimensional piece of ductwork there. Reading comprehension and design savvy, and having manual precision skills. Our newest program that we came in have done is telecommunications technician. So that's a 3-year program. One of our contractors informed me that when he first got started in this business with telecommunications and low voltage, that the industry, the buildings were only a small percentage were using the low voltage, which means the different kinds of systems there. And now about 60% of a building is now involved with low voltage because you're doing smart buildings. And so much of it now, and that's the computer systems and sprinkler systems, security, cameras, everything is going on in there. So you ask yourself, what are the qualifications? A person has to be at least 18 years of age or older. Many programs require a high school diploma or GED or a high school equivalency. We require that. Some programs do not. You must be a resident of the United States. That does not mean a citizen, but you have to be a resident. Drug test background check is usually through the employers, but that is something for individuals to keep in mind. So especially when you're talking to the youth, they may not think about it, but having a good driving record is very important. Just so you know, individuals who may have prior college or trade school experience, we encourage them to bring in their transcripts. I know when we had an articulation agreement with C&M, we would allow for like the 1 year of residential. The certificate would be the equivalent of the first year of our electrical program there. We also pride ourselves on being flexible. So we do have Zoom capabilities for students as well. So we recognize people are working out of town. And we also work with other ABC chapters if individuals are moving out of state so that they can go ahead and continue their education in another state and still be with ABC. So the question can be, what can educators and other organizations do? Besides learning about apprenticeship, I think it's very important to dispel negative stereotypes within construction. One of the biggest things I hear is, you know, you think about construction, you think that they're knuckle dragging Neanderthals. You have to be very smart to be successful in construction. And the only thing I point out there is if you look at the TLC trucks that are driving around, Dale Armstrong, he started with himself and another guy in his pickup truck. And now he employs over 800 employees here within New Mexico. And he has several different locations going on there. So construction is very, very successful and very good. And, you know, when you invite us to do this, and I really like it when I'm able to bring our apprentices with us so you can hear from them, because I think that tells you a lot more. And partner with the different programs and industries. So sometimes we have in our minds what we think is needed, but it's a good idea to talk to the industry themselves and find out what does that industry need in order to be successful? What are they looking for in a person to come and work for them? So I can tell you apprenticeship works. It works very well. We have many, many people who have graduated from our program, and they're still doing this work today. So this is our contact information here. Shauna and I are happy to talk about it. And we also encourage you, if you'd like to come into our facilities, we're happy to show that off as well. So thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, I'm delighted to answer.
Thank you so much, Greta. That's a wealth of information. We did have a couple of questions in the chat, so I can read those. Brittany was wondering whether we could get a copy of your PowerPoint presentation.
Absolutely. Okay. Martha, would you like me to just, did I email that to you?
Not this updated version. So
okay, I'll send that to you.
I'll get it out to the
yes,
group.
Absolutely. I'll send that to you.
And we also had a question about whether the drug test includes for cannabis.
Okay, so let's talk about this. Let me just say that if, federally, if you're on a federal project, which many of our members are, you're going to be drug tested, and federally, the federal government does not recognize marijuana as legal. So that's what it is right there. If you're on a federal project, it's not going to happen. In the construction industry, because we work with so many safety concerns, you're working with heavy equipment, you're driving. I would strongly say that probably cannabis is it's treated like any other drug. Even though the state may recognize it for recreational use, if you're working in an industry that has these kind of safety, I mean, if you're up on a ladder, if you're up on what we call high iron, you're handling equipment, you have torches, you have, you know, nail guns, you're doing all kinds of equipment. And the thing is, safety is huge because you are responsible not just for your own life, but for everybody else. So it may be that you have to take it up with the employer, the individual employer. But if an employer has a federal project going on, no, you're not going to be able to do that.
Are there other questions for Greta? Feel free to either come off mute or you can put it in the chat.
Greta, hi there. This is Denise. You know, I have just a pretty mundane question, but nonetheless, I was talking with a student today. They wanted to know what the salary was for when they start the apprenticeship program, and I thought this is a good opportunity to ask that question, and also just to say that the facility, the ABC facility, is beautiful. We have brought students there from our school to do the tours, and it is just a great way to spark enthusiasm and help students get a real good look at what trades might be. So, but What about the salary, the
Sure.
starting salary
So, if you're looking at, let's look at it from like percentage wise. Okay.
Yeah.
So a first period, first year apprentice is going to be at 50% of whatever the journeyman is making. Okay, so
Right.
let's talk it. That's public works. Let's look at public works jobs. And now I can tell you that one of our companies, they even start their apprentices at $25 an hour.
Mhm.
Yeah. And that's in like, electrical. So they just start them right away in that. And it's also going to depend on what the trade is on that, what trade they're working in. But, generally speaking, when you're asking a person who, okay, they're 18 years old, they have no experience and they know nothing. I'm sorry, I don't want to talk them down, but you have a young person coming in to a job and they really don't know. They really don't know because they're learning. That's the process they're in. They're learning, but they're going to be making 50% of what a journeyman is making. So let's say, for example, that your journeyman electrical guy on a scale job, which is public works, is going to make $40 an hour plus fringe and benefits. The apprentice is going to make 50% of that first year. So that's $20 an hour plus 100% of the fringe. Let's keep in mind that the fringe can be applied to 401k, medical insurance, things of that nature. But when you think about somebody coming out and not knowing anything and making $20 to $25 an hour right off the bat, that's great because, minimum wage in New Mexico is statewide, what, $12 an hour? It's gone up to 12 and now it'll be going higher. But, right away, they're making a good living. Plus, they're not paying for their education. So they're getting their education free on top of being able to earn money on that. But again, it depends on the trade. It depends. But no, they're doing very good. I like I said, the apprentices, they're driving brand new trucks, and I've got my 10-year-old car.
And
Brittany, did you have a question? I see your hand is up.
Yeah. Two questions actually, if that's okay.
Sure.
So like I said, I'm down here in southern New Mexico, and I know in the kind of limited time that I've been in my position, I've looked into apprenticeship opportunities through various unions and organizations in that way, because a lot of them, I found them through the apprenticeship office or through the Workforce Connections, Workforce Solutions office, and then found out that they were able to place apprentices in positions down here in southern New Mexico, even though they're based in Albuquerque. I'm curious, maybe similar things, or if your work is primarily just in the Albuquerque area.
Actually, we do have members who are in Las Cruces and Roswell as well. They're companies that have training units down there. So it operates, so the union and what we do is operates a little bit differently, in the sense that the apprentice belongs to the union, and the union will put them wherever the work is going to be. And they have, locations, throughout. Here, the apprentice is actually employed by the employer. And now I'll tell you, if they lose their job or something like that, we work to get them with another member company. We do have companies in Grants, we do have companies in Las Cruces and things like that. So yes, we try to make it so that people can, be working around where they live. But the majority, as you will find, are in the Albuquerque area. But yes, we have members in Farmington, Gallup, Las Vegas, New Mexico, but the majority of them are here. But the apprentices are working all throughout the state of New Mexico.
Sounds good. Well, I may be in contact with you then.
Please, please,
Yeah.
yes, please go,
Good.
you know, by all means, you know, let me put my email. I know it's on the thing here, but let me put it in here.
Are there other questions for Greta?
I had a couple.
Sure, go ahead, Anne.
Greta, the vast majority of my clients are learners of English as a foreign language. They have varying levels in English, but how flexible, how understanding are your employers of language barriers, and how much, like, what level of English would you recommend to be able to understand the classroom materials?
That's an excellent question. First of all, understand, as far as our employers being understanding, they're very understanding. Let me tell you, I walk into the sheet metal class and everybody's speaking Spanish. So, you know, I'm the odd man out, let me tell you. But I would, and here's where we have it. So in our HVAC class, we have a gentleman who's originally from Argentina. English is his second language. He's an extremely educated man. So he carries in his phone, he has an app that does the translating. So he has been able to, he's going through our program, translating as he's working through it. You know, he'll read, he'll read the question, or he'll talk into it in Spanish. It'll translate into English. I'll read it. He'll do the same thing. He can read and translate, going back and forth in that. But, you know, I sat down with the instructor. I said, look, here's the situation with this gentleman. And they both sat and talked. And my instructor said, he's going to do just fine. He's going to do just fine. A lot of times so some of our publications were able to get, you know, in the initial years in, say, I'm just going to use Spanish because it's the most common thing. You can get that in Spanish. However, the other thing that we've discovered is that written Spanish and conversational Spanish are two different things within that. What we have found is some of the best things is if we have somebody, an apprentice who is bilingual, teams up with an apprentice who maybe has English as a second language. And that seems to work the best. Because sometimes we have instructors who speak Spanish conversationally, and it works just fine. But when you're trying to sometimes describe technical terms in another language, it's a little challenging there. But all I can tell you is I've got people graduating and doing well within the industry and the program and with their company. It's kind of like, you know, we just organically have a whole community here. We're here to help people succeed. I'm not here to say, you know, if you can't read English, we're not going to do it. If you can't do this, we're not going to do it. I'm here to find a way. And that's what the instructors are too. We had somebody who is almost illiterate, and he came through because of our instructor was so determined to help him, because the contractor said, this guy is just the greatest worker. I want you to be able to help him. 4 years later, we got through it very, very successfully. So, you know, we're here to help. But I would say, you know, if a person can come in as prepared as possible, the onus really, as well as on us, it's not just, you know, me dragging people through and saying, I want you to succeed. They have to want to succeed. They have to want to do it. This gentleman came in, he knew what he wanted to do. So he had his translation set up. He had all these different things. You know, he's doing it. He's doing it. He's not making any kind of excuses and saying, you know, well, you have to do this for me, and, you know, or I can't do this or that or whatever. Believe me, I've gone through those people, and I'm like, mother of a biscuit. It's something else. But if a person has that motivation and they want to learn and they want to succeed, we can help. We can do it. And all I can say is I've got the proof. It's doable. It's doable.
Okay.
Sorry, I didn't give it in cut and dried explanations like ninth grade and this and that and everything like that. But
it never is cut and dry.
It isn't. But let's just be totally honest. You have to have, because this is what I found out when we tried doing our GED program here with Albuquerque Adult Learning Center. That was eye-opening for me because we had all the good intentions in the world, and then we were trying to get people to get their GED and go through our initial core program concurrently. Well, we're not doing that. Was a struggle, because what we discovered through the tape testing, people had to be to do this the best. They had to be basically at a level like minimum 4, and which is not 4th grade, I found out. But we had people who were like at 2 and 3, and they needed to be at 4 or 5 in order to optimize it there. So, we got individuals through this, but then we said there's a better way to do this, because one thing I know all about stress, that nothing stresses me out more than having to go through trying to get an equivalency degree and go through another, more complex program within a straight, 15 weeks.